My name is Lamaria Phillips, and with me today I have Chief Anthony Williams. He is the chief of the police station at the Baton Rouge Airport, and he is my mentor for my senior project. Chief Williams, what is it like being an African American police officer?
I'm glad you asked that question. One, I'm not politically correct. I hate the term with a passion. That is a divisionist term. It separates us from the rest of the community. Therefore, if you're creating separation at the beginning, you're going to have separation in the middle as well as at the end. Being a person of color in the police department is becoming harder and harder every day, because the way we're portrayed in the news media, it's police officers are bad. And being a black police officer, it makes us worse, because we're being told we're contributing to the problem by not saying anything. But there's a code of silence in the community. There you run into an oxymoron. You want me to snitch, but you don't want to snitch. What's wrong with that picture? That's what it's like being an African American, if you want to say that, which, once again, I don't like that term.
What is the average workday for a police officer?
There is no such animal. There's no such thing as an average workday. I started with the city police department. So I would patrol First District. And I lived in First District. First District being, around Estruma and all that area right there, Plank Road. It was not good for me because I policed the area in which I lived. I'll say it one more time. I policed the area in which I lived. So I was always running into conflicts. So the average day for a police officer, it can go from just mild to everything just breaking loose. You never know what that next call is going to hold for you.
How did you decide to become an officer?
I've always been public service oriented. From high school, they taught civics, and I was real inquisitive about government. And growing up, I'm a baby boomer, so I remember the 1960s. I lived through the 1960s. I remember seeing certain things. I remember being a victim of certain things. So I always grew up wanting to change things. So when I became old enough, I entered the military. And then after I came out of the military, I still wanted to make a difference. So that's really why I joined the police department, to make a difference.
As a person of color on the police department, have you experienced prejudice or racism on the job?
Oh, every other day, you are called some of everything by the populace, the people you serve, because you are the person that they vent to or they vent on. So you have to be prepared for that. So you really see it on a day-to-day basis, but you learn to deal with it.
What qualifications do you feel a good officer should possess?
First and foremost, communication skills. You should be able to speak to everyone and talk to everyone without bias. In other words, you should be able to look at a person and not see anything but a person. You shouldn't see male, you shouldn't see female, you shouldn't see anything else. You shouldn't see color, you shouldn't see anything. When you stop a person or you converse with a person or interact with a person, you should see another human being just like yourself. That's one of the main skills a police officer needs. You also need to have a mild demeanor when dealing with the public. You can't be overly aggressive, nor can you be authoritative when you come to an initial contact with a person.
Can you define stop and frisk?
Stop and frisk. In 2013, if I'm not mistaken, the U.S. District Court decided that stop and frisk was illegal unless the officer had more of a probable cause. What is done is pretty much what's called a Terry frisk, where if you're in a situation where your safety or the public's safety is at risk, you can do what's called, I can do a pat down for weapons. And it's not really a pat down, it's I'm just gonna take my hand. If there's a bulge there, something there that's obvious, I'm going to ask you if I can do this.
What factors or decisions come into play when an officer decides to pull someone over?
It has to be some type of violation. We don't believe in just pulling people over just to pull people over. Matter of fact, that is against the law. Just like running your name through the criminal database without probable cause is against the law. There either needs to be something wrong with the vehicle, tail light out, some type of violation like that, license plate is expired, expired driver's license, or there are bolos be on the lookout for. So just say you're driving a black Camaro like I drive, and we have no other description but a black Camaro in this area. So I may pull you over because you have a black Camaro. And a number of people get offended for that. But if that's what all I have to work with, that's what I have to work with. But that's the only reason we should stop people.
What is the correct process or procedure when stopped or confronted by a police officer?
I'm glad you asked that question. I've been stopped numerous times because people say I don't look like a police officer out of uniform. Always approach them from a position of respect, the way you want to be treated. I don't want you coming at me aggressive, so don't come at them aggressive. You know, yes, sir, good morning, officer, how are you, or whatever, if he asks you for something. I always keep stuff where I don't have to reach for it. I keep my driver's license in my back pocket. If I'm stopped, I automatically pull it out before he gets to the car. My registration and proof of insurance is on my visor, so I don't have to reach anywhere to get that because I don't want no confusion. So I'm ready to give him whatever he or she is going to ask for. That would be the proper procedure.
What is your opinion on the Black Lives Matter movement?
I don't have an opinion. And I have to keep that in line because I'm a police officer. I cannot be biased. I cannot be for something or against something because I'm going to lean toward supporting it. As a police officer, I can't do that. I have to be neutral. So when it comes down to that organization, it serves a purpose that someone felt was needed. And as a police officer, I will support their right to protest because that's constitutional. But that's the only opinion I have on it.
How does being a police officer affect your family life?
Very much. I've arrested people who still remember me. I've been walking with my family in the mall and someone says, "Hello, Officer Williams." I haven't been an officer in years. And then I'll look at them and it'll take me a second, then I'll remember that person. Remember, your family becomes just as much as a target as the police officer does. Because if they go after you, you may be with your family.
There were recent protests in the city due to said police brutality. What is your view on police brutality?
There again, we've seen some rough things in the news. And there's some things that I wish I could talk about with you, but when cases are still under litigation, they're still under investigation, we cannot speak to those things. But there again, people have a right to protest. That is their First Amendment right under the Constitution to protest. So as long as it's done peaceably, I don't see a problem with it at all.
My final question is, do you feel that officers should patrol the neighborhood in which they live and why?
Here's the dilemma. That question has been asked for years. I park a unit in my yard every day. So when people are mad with the police, they're mad at me. Even though I had nothing to do with that. Excuse me, turn the radio off. Even though I had nothing to do with it. If they decide to take a pot shot at my house because my unit is there, do you think that's seriously going to affect my family? That's why that question has been put before people for years. We're told not to police our neighborhoods for that reason. That is every police policy because we know you're putting your family in imminent danger. We will call another officer. That's why we don't have to arrest our family members. We don't have to respond to our family's home. We don't have to respond to a friend's home. We always get someone else to do that. Now, living in the community that you police, Always remember, everyone will know where you live. There's the problem. And we see drive-bys every day. We see more police officers' homes broken into every day. We see units broken into every day. If you're patrolling that area and that's happening, the clock is ticking on a shot running through your house, killing your wife.
Go ahead.
Okay. And that's the problem you run into, because the clock starts ticking. There's a shot may come through that window. It may kill your wife, the officer, or a family member. So that's the dilemma that we run through every day with a unit parked in our yard, and we readily accept that.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you for taking time out today.
Not a problem. Do you have any question that's not on there you'd like to ask? Because you have a police chief sitting in front of you that will answer any question.
Not at this moment.
Then I thank you.